for 5, and we will all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
It's to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll vote for approval of the second to approve the December 16th Police and Fire Commission, the February 25th, March 19th, 2025 Parks and Recreation Board minutes. Motion approved. And fun. Second. Any questions, changes, suggestions? Minutes? Hearing and seeing none, in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Great. Anybody wish to speak this evening? Any here? We can speak to you, Mr. Brady. We'll take care of you. Anybody else wish to speak? Ms. McFall, please come to the podium. Name and case, please.
Marie McFall, 1104 Sunset Court, Grafton. Good evening, everybody. My message tonight is regarding quality. We need quality-focused, fair-minded, experienced citizens appointed to our village boards, committees, and commissions. I understand that the citizen appointees are approved by the village board and at the recommendation of the village president. In turn, the citizen appointee agrees to fulfill the responsibilities they have on the assigned committee for a certain time frame and to meet the needs of the village and the citizens. One of our citizen appointees, Les Blum, with over 10 years serving the village on the Public Works Committee with the best interests of the citizens at heart, and with a lifetime of professional expertise to contribute to us, is recommended for replacement. I hope the board will consider the significant loss to the village and the residents by agreeing to this replacement. Unless there is some egregious behavior or action in play that violates the trust of the Grafton citizens, I do not see justification in replacing a citizen volunteer who has served this community so admirably. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. President, I'm going to move forward. Everyone here has a copy of the appointees for committees, looking to appoint the following people to the committees: Architectural Review Board, people Grafchuk, Mark Patchke. To the Board of Public Works, Pat Murray. Board of Review, Robert Jacobson. Community Development Authority, Eric Ebner, Jackie Krieger. Joint Library Board, Charles Kramer, Marie McFall. Parks and Rec, Mike Canepa, Steve Nauta. Planning Commission, Mark Patchke, Harlan Harms. Police and Fire Commission, Joseph Kell. And Zoning Board of Appeals, Matt Zichter, Don Tomfleck. I'll look for a motion in a second for approval.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion in a second. And I will look for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Raise your hands.
For which?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, 3 to 4, those appointments are not made at this point in time. So those committees will be short at this point. I think we're at that issue, correct, Mike?
Correct.
Yep, okay, so those.
Is there an opportunity to say anything though? Was there an opportunity to say anything? For us, normally we have a motion and then there's discussion. On any other thing we talk about, there's a motion. I would like to just have some information in the record. So in reviewing the committee assignments, I was surprised to see that one of our greatest assets and advocate for the village of Grafton was taken off the Public Works Committee. Les Bloom was appointed to Public Works in 2013, midterm when another member became ill and couldn't complete his 3-year term. Les has been a member of Public Works since then and has been reappointed every 3-year term. As a matter of fact, he was reappointed last year to serve another 3 years. Les was responsible for suggesting that the DPW and water utility work together in coordinating utility replacement and street replacement, thus saving money. He challenged the high percent of I&I discharge, which is infiltration and illegal discharge, that the village had in their sanitary sewer. He requested that our environmental consultant seek a longer reporting period for the Lime Park cleanup, again saving money. He suggested that we increase the miles for road replacement from 1/2 mile to close to 2 miles. And for the last 3 years, he has recommended that we come up with additional road engineering so that when the road projects had extra money left or the bids came in low, we could jump into the next project without having to wait for the next year. Les has been invaluable for the village of Grafton these past 12 years. As an experienced and certified PE physical engineer, his recommendations have easily saved Grafton hundreds of thousands of dollars. He currently serves on Seton Schools of Milwaukee for the Catholic Archdiocese and serves on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, which includes building new schools. I am asking for us to please keep Les Bloom on the Public Works Committee for the remainder of the year. As a qualified physical engineer, he is a huge asset for the village of Grafton. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. President, I just want to make clear what I said earlier. I have to look at our code. The committees may continue to exist until new appointments are
Okay. So the continue, say again.
made. The appointments may continue until new appointments are made. Does that make sense?
No.
The existing appointments,
So
the existing committees, I have to check
Status
this.
quo.
The status quo would continue to, thank you. Status quo would continue to exist until new appointments are made.
okay. All right. Very good.
Make a case.
Let's go to anything.
Question. Is there a reasoning as to why Mr. Blum was removed mid-position from this appointment?
Based on is there two? That's presidential.
Okay, so, all right, thank you.
All right, moving on to ordinance amendment, chapter 2.
An ordinance amendment has been prepared by our village clerk and is being brought forward for village board consideration this evening. The Village of Grafton Board of Review has consisted of 5 citizen members for the past few decades. However, this is not consistent with Chapter 70.46 of Wisconsin statutes. The statute requires that the village president, clerk, and other such officers, other than the assessor, as constitute the Board of Trustees in each village by ordinance. Therefore, the recommendation coming forward from the clerk's office is to update that particular portion of our code to mirror language set forth in state statutes to establish a new membership criteria.
Bring to the table for discussion, motion to approve an ordinance amending chapter 2-10-040 Board of Review.
I'll second.
Very good. Dave, do you have any questions? Or- Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Report of the Planning Commission.
Yes, coming out of Plan Commission, we have a recommendation to approve an amendment to the zoning ordinance, in particular sections 19.0231B and 19.03.17G to add mausoleums as a conditional use within the I institutional zoning district. This proposal is driven by an application from St. Joseph's Parish to be allowed to construct such a building on their property. However, the zoning ordinance would need to be updated in order to allow for that in the first place. Director Wolf is available to be able to speak in greater detail to the background and or the ordinance update itself.
Okay, bring it to the table for discussion. I'll look for a motion to approve amendments zoning ordinance sections. Or 31B. 17G. 10 miles says conditional use of the institutional building district be approved.
Second.
Great, motion and second. Any discussion, questions? Andrew?
Director Wolf, if one of the other churches in the community would be interested in building a mausoleum under concrete or it have an existing cemetery, is it basically it would only apply to properties that are in that specific institutional zoning? They all have institutional.
All churches in the village are zoned high institutional district. So the state statutes actually, it's a very nuanced situation, but they have different regulations for columbaria versus mausoleum. If you have a church structure, it's called a columbaria. And if you don't have a church structure, it's called a mausoleum. So if a church wanted to have a structure with cremated remains, it would just depend on where it was going to be placed, at a church or at a cemetery. Now we can accommodate both.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go to number 2, direct village administrator interview contract with Full Seal Levine for comprehensive plan project. Cost estimate to exceed 98,860.
Yes, this is a recommendation coming forward out of the Plan Commission to direct myself as village administrator to enter into a service contract with Houseo Levine for our comprehensive land use plan update project. Village staff did go out for a request for proposals on this project. We had 9 firms provide submittals, and we interviewed 4 of them based upon our staff level review of proposed scope of work, their public engagement efforts, budget, but also end product and reference checks. Assistant Administrator Wolf, myself, and Chamber Executive Director Elizabeth Mueller sat to interview the 4 consultant firms that were identified as preferred candidates. That said, I do want to send a special thank you to our friend at the Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director Elizabeth Mueller, for her help with this. It provided excellent outside perspective, not from a staff standpoint, but through the interview process, and that was greatly appreciated. The full scope of services was attached to the IFC this evening, presented by prepared by Houseo Levine, and staff is available to answer any questions regarding that. Otherwise, the Plan Commission has recommended approval.
Look for a motion second to direct the village administrator to enter into contract with Houseo Levine for a comprehensive plan project for a cost not to exceed $98,865.
Second.
Okay, Andy, question? Kevin, question? Anybody else? Question here? Now hearing them, all in favor say aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Go to Parks and Rec, exception of donation of 9 tee boxes from Joshua Stowski.
Yes, this young man is looking to complete an Eagle Scout project, and through the construction and donation of 9 new tee box signs at Limekiln Park's disc golf course. Recommendation from the Park and Rec Board to accept said donation.
As a newly appointed member of the subcommittee, Eagle Scout brought up to us, and it's going to be wonderful to be in our Limekiln Park. So congrats to that young man.
Thank you, Andy. Any other questions, comments, questions? Great, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Let's go to the donation, Jesse.
This is a monetary donation from Richard Dassow for the purchase of a memorial bench to be placed in Lime Kiln Park on behalf of his unfortunately deceased wife.
Very good. Look for a motion to accept the donation of $2,387 from Richard Dassow for the purchase of a bench to be placed at Landfill Park. All right. Amy, please call the question. Favor say aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We'll go to the items discussed at the HR and Finance Committee here. I would like to say that Jesse and we have talked in the items of finance. We'd like them not necessarily to come right to the village board. We'd like to have some time in between, but we do really good because of the election and because of the immediacy of these situations that are coming at this time.
Yeah.
With the utility director.
And I do truly appreciate the village board's consideration of these special circumstances on the following items. Following up on the Finance and Personnel Committee presentation, the village does review job descriptions when an opening does present itself or a vacancy presents itself. In this particular case, our Director of Public Works, village engineer, has left the organization to pursue an opportunity in the private sector. With that review of that job description, turned out that the Public Works Director, village engineer, actually oversees a significant amount of vital village functions, including the water infrastructure, sanitary sewer infrastructure, and treatment plant operations. Quite frankly, that is a lot of responsibility to put on one department head. So what I am proposing is the division of these job duties across two managerial positions to create not only efficiencies from an oversight standpoint, but also operational efficiencies, as there will be a higher level of decision-making authority within the utility. A utility director job position is being requested and is before the village board based upon a Finance and Personnel Committee recommendation. Historically speaking, the village did have a separate utility director job position. However, that was combined under the Department of Public Works umbrella in 2012 with the then utility director's retirement. Since that time, however, the village has grown quite a bit and regulatory pressures have continued to grow as well with regards to reporting federal and state standards as well. The basis for the job description was the assistant utility director engineer job description. However, throughout the job description, language was strengthened and responsibilities added to note the direct management and oversight of the utility, as well as the budget for the utility. The motion is the motion from the Finance Personnel Committee was for the village board to approve the creation of the utility director job description and the associated placement of the position into pay grade 21.
Look for a motion to recommend village board approve the creation of the utility director job description and associated placement and position pay grade 21.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Great, we have a motion. All right, Lisa,
Yeah, I just have a question. You did note here, Jesse, that by this reorganization, it will help with the recruitment of the new DPW director.
I believe that to be the case. And actually an excellent question, Trustee Harbeck. We did touch on it a bit with the Finance and Personnel Committee. However, it's important to note here as well. The dual roles that you see out in the marketplace now of a public works director / utility director, primarily you'll see in what they call a contractual utility, where a community such as the village of Butler, where I once worked, or the village of Brown Deer, they purchase sanitary sewer service from Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District and water service from Milwaukee Water. Really, it is about managing the infrastructure in the ground and then the service contract associated with purchasing the product, so to speak. We have a nuance here in Grafton where we have a full plant operation with a working lab that does active testing and reporting to the state on a regular basis. And then we also have the federal regulations associated with the plant operations and that lab operation compounding that managerial effort. So that is the part of that basis of coming forward. So an excellent question. Thank you.
And so, and it looks like you would also utilize the new utility director to assist with possibly weighing in on the new DPW director?
Yes, actually, my plan for it, kind of a side note here, but my plan for the recruitment of a public works director will be to discuss with the utility, because I have actually written into the job description that there shall be communication and coordination between the utility and public works department. I am not looking to build silos by creating two management positions. I'm looking to create a better nexus because of the decision-making capability. But I was speaking with the utility, but I'll also be speaking with public works staff as well as to what they would like to see in that next public works director, because I feel it's important to get staff input on that important decision.
After you speak with them, will there be an updated job description for the new DPW director that we'll be able to see coming from finance to village board?
The job description for the public works director is actually what they call below the line, with the general job duties that falls under my purview as the administrator. And all I'll be doing is pulling out the utility oversight job duties from that. I will not be changing the pay grade, nor will I be changing the job title. I'll just be changing the duties. That being said, what I'm going to be speaking with staff about is what they would like to see in that new person. Not so much the job duties that they're doing, but what qualities would they like to see in that department head that will be coming into our organization. And that's where those discussions will lie.
So years back, this new position, where it's a combination position. And the DPW director was, took on some of the responsibilities of the water and wastewater utility. That was added to the responsibility of the DPW. And I would think now, going forward with less duties, that pay grade needs to be revisited, because we now have a highly specialized person in the water department, and there, I think we need to relook at the pay grade 22, possibly bring that down to 21. Yes, and that's why I asked.
Here's my thought process on this. The pay grade would stay the same for the public works director position, because we would be requiring a licensed PE to fill that role. This utility director engineer position does not require a PE. Carrying that licensure of a professional engineer in today's market warrants that higher pay scale. That is why I'm not proposing to change that pay scale whatsoever. And we also have a classification and compensation study where if it says that public works director position does need to come down because of this job description change, we can enact that at that time. However, I strongly believe having a licensed PE on staff is beneficial to our organization, but that also warrants not changing the pay scale. Yes.
I think right now we have a motion to recommend for the utility director position. I think that's something we can do in HR if need be.
As the class comp study comes forward.
Thank you. Anything else, Lisa?
Thank you.
Okay. Lisa, we will vote on favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Job elimination of the job rotation. Is there any being able to take this one? That's the way we did it.
I don't know if Trustee Curtis was here with all of that information. You came in late to finance. Did you need to hear some?
See if we can. So see, take it away.
Certainly, and actually I would defer to Assistant Administrator Wolf, who is the department head of the Community Development Department, to walk through what the small reorganization as proposed. This is rooted in that standing practice of, as a vacancy occurs, we do review a job description. In this particular case, Administrative Assistant Deborah Brown retired, had the opening. We took a look at the job description, and that is the basis for the proposal here in front of the board this evening. Jessica, please.
Thank you. So a lot has changed in the department in the last 4 years. We've made significant improvement in data processing and customer service. And I think that having these changes that are proposed, having 2 levels of staff is a really a better fit for our department. So the administrative assistant one position, transitioning that to administrative assistant two position, allow that person to take full responsibility of complex situations like commercial and multifamily development, and really taking the lead on plan commission administrative tasks as well. And then the office assistant position will be able to focus on customer service and the primary administrative tasks such as reviewing the basics level of permit and issuing those, processing payments, helping to counter those kind of basic tasks. So creating those two levels of positions will be very helpful for us. So again, there are the three actions requested: creation of the office assistant position and placement in pay grade 9, elimination of one administrative assistant 1 position, and reclassification of the remaining administrative assistant 1 to administrative assistant 2, and placement in pay grade 12. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion to recommend the village board to approve the following: creation of an office assistant job description and associated placement of position into pay grade 9, elimination of one administrative assistant 1 position, and reclassification of the remaining administrative assistant 1 position to administrative assistant 2, associated placement of the position into pay grade 12.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Very good. And if you, as the village board takes a look at all three of these items, we have all the same thing. Let's see here, Sarah, any questions at all?
Yeah, just a question for Jessica. Is this, these are 2 full-time positions, correct? Correct. Okay, so with these positions for your staff, is this helping you with, like, if one of them should be sick or ill on, maternity leave, that sort of thing, is this gonna help out in that sort of way and sort of covering things and
We have 2 full-time positions currently. We're operating at a very significant efficiency right now with only 1 admin. But no, I guess to answer your question, there's no real difference in coverage.
Sure.
It's more about rearranging responsibilities and then having a pay grade and a position title that reflects those new responsibilities. There will definitely be cross training so that when people are on vacation or ill or out of the office, the primary tasks of both positions can be covered by either person.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Andy, questions?
As far as budgeting goes, because one position is going upgrade, it's going downgrade. As far as that goes, assuming that obviously your new office assistant's going to fall into a medium grade as far as the steps. No impact the budget for
No, there won't be a budget impact. So this action doesn't change the actual pay grade for our current administrative assistant 1. It just places them in a different pay grade. So there's no automatic change in current staff person's salary.
One. Sure.
Yep.
But
Anyone else questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to revolving loan fund for Angelia local CDDA Maven for equipment renovations. 2225 Dakota Drive.
Yes, the Village of Grafton utilizes Ozaki Economic Development as its administrative agent in reviewing revolving loan fund applications for assistance. The basis for those funds is actually defederalized community development block grant dollars, which is held by the village and utilized for financial assistance for new businesses to get started in just this manner. The Ozaki Economic Development did make a very favorable and strong recommendation for approval of this $25,000 revolving loan fund request.
Very good. Look for a motion in a second. CDBA Salon Maven for equipment supplies for operations. 2225.
Second.
Questions?
Director Tice, with that outgoing money, what's left as far as our accounts?
I do not have that number with me this evening, and I would not want to misspeak. Perfect, thank you.
Opposed? Carried. Agreement. Through nine stream size board. Should there be any questions? Great, thank you. Trustee?
Absolutely happy to walk through the IFC prepared for this evening. The Village of Grafton cleared vegetation in the public right-of-way along Cedar Creek Road to the west of the intersection of Streamside Court. The vegetation was cleared in response to concerns about visibility distance for motor vehicles, in particular village snowplows. The area cleared is adjacent to the Brady residence at 399 Streamside Court. A concern was raised by the residents that they had lost vegetative screening or privacy due to the clearing. The concern was discussed at length before the Board of Public Works. The February 10th, 2025 meeting minutes are attached to the IFC this evening, outlining that discussion. After hearing both sides of the matter, the Board of Public Works did reach a compromise to enter into a cost share agreement for the planting of and caring for replacement arborvitae trees. A planting plan noting 6 new arborvitae trees be established within that public right-of-way. The trees would be spaced 14 feet center to center and a circumference of a 12-foot spread, which is the mature coverage type for this type of tree. So therefore, approximately 72 feet of frontage would be covered, effectively screening the resident's property. The cost sharing agreement calls for some of the specific terms. The village is responsible for the cost of 3 of the trees. The residents would be responsible for the cost of the other 3 trees. The village is responsible for planting all of the trees. The residents would be responsible for watering the newly planted trees. Mulch may be placed around the base of the planting bed at the discretion of the property owner and cost of the property owner. This number of trees runs almost the full length of the subject property or adjacent property rather, while still staying outside of that vision triangle area, even at full maturity. The presented agreement is consistent with the Board of Public Works recommendation, which is a compromise for all involved and has been reviewed by village legal counsel. Approval of the agreement is requested.
We're going to look for a motion in the second agreement to draft it. So, we have this, Lisa, do you have?
Sure, the only thing, that I'm sure about. I did review the minutes from Public Works. It was a recommendation from Public Works that 3 trees would have normally been planted in that area. You know, that's kind of what they designated, you know, that's fine. And I think they were thinking of a different style of tree. The tree that was requested by the resident was a specific tree. We did not really discuss that it would be 3 for 3. I believe it was discussed that the village would pay for 3 trees because that's what they would have put in. And the Brady's had said that they would offer to pay the rest. So, in light of, you know, an email today where the Brady's had said, you know, we didn't know it was 3 to 3. They were requesting 2 additional trees, which they would pay for. So they would pay for 5 trees, I believe, or a total of 8 trees. They would pay for 5 and the village would pay for 3. And I would just ask that we consider that. You know, the village is still paying their amount and the Brady's would pay for the rest. And I think that would be a good compromise.
I appreciate that insight with regards to the conversation at the Board of Public Works. And there was in fact an email that came through from Mr. Brady this morning talking about a different number of trees. The number of 6 came to be really looking at the space available. There really isn't much more space when you start thinking about fully matured trees to be putting more in the public right of way in that area. If the Brady's would wish to plant further plantings on their private property, they may. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, to even bolstering this screening that the village is reestablishing in the right of way.
If the additional tree that they would like to purchase is too much for the vision and the right of way, understood. However, if he can't get his, let's say, 2 additional trees that he's willing to pay out of pocket for himself to beautify our community for, if we can't give him the full amount that he wants additionally due to vision, understood. However, is there any kind of way that we can work with that resident? Say, you know, if you'd like to purchase 1 additional tree, it won't affect the vision, knock yourself out.
Quite frankly, we're already setting a fairly significant precedent here by putting plantings in the public right of way. We took down scrub brush in a public right of way to help the vision for motor vehicles in the area, and replanting based upon a resident's request in the public right of way sets a significant precedent. Where would it stop for the village of having to reestablish plantings within the public right of way based upon a request? That being said, I truly believe, based upon the discussion set forth in the meeting minutes, the planting plan set forth by staff showing what the radius of the trees would be, and the room that we have available to us, that screening will be reestablished quite well, in the best interest of not only the property owner, but maintaining that vision area within the triangle, but also staying within, thinking about what the rear property line of the residents would be as well, staying within that line too, or within the space available.
Dave?
So Jesse, who will own the 6 trees?
Being in the public right of way, they'll technically be village trees. In essence, it's understood as they're being planted in public right of way, but we could update the language as needed.
I feel that it's not required information that had to be communicated with the family, the right is owned by the village. I think the matter was addressed accordingly. I do believe that the director and the superintendent were in their authority to take care of this matter. And if their professional opinion is to have 3 trees planted there in that area, that's what I think we should go with as it.
Tracy. Tracy, one more thing.
So I think, for a second, Mr. Brady, but you know, in theory, I agree with Amy that we're setting a precedence here, one that I would challenge the Department of Public Works to be very careful with moving forward. With that said, I do think that the relationship here is important for us to maintain with the Brady's, and that you know, looking at the total census 3.3, we're recommending get them to start and see how it works. If we need to move to a retreat as it comes forward, I think we'll look at that. Yeah, to see if the those trees needed. So I will go back to Lisa and give everybody else the issues.
Yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate everybody considering this. I mean, this is something that kind of caught the homeowner when it happened. And, you know, I guess they never knew that this was in the right of way, and they had been there for so long and it hadn't really been taken care of. So I applaud the Public Works Department for kind of looking outside the box. And I would just ask that people consider this, because I think it's something good to do for the residents and for the village.
Anybody else have comments?
Yeah, follow comment is just, I just want to say for the record that I understand the discussion of the canopies of the trees and once they mature and the coverage from that perspective. The concept of setting a precedent that we don't want though, from a request from our taxpayers and our village residents, especially when it comes to beautifying our city, which we are a very, very proud tree city from what I understand. I just don't see it as setting a precedence in that respect. I think it's more of a, we have to take each request from each individual residence on an individual basis. And so there's no precedent. I would like to echo what Trustee Harbeck says, of just, at least we're considering this for the resident and bringing all the discussion points to the table as the village board. Thank you.
You're welcome. I would disagree with you. So, because we've already had folks call up and say, I would like this tree based on the fact that that's what's happening with the Brady's or what's happening at 399 Streamside. So we are setting preference, precedents, and I think that we need to be careful about that. And my comments still saying, Mr. Brady, would you like to come up and address anything you'd like to add?
I'd just like to thank you for working with us on this. And we did sign the agreement by yesterday afternoon, and we did lock it off. And 2 additional trees would still be within our property. We're totally happy with 3 and 3. That's, and then, like you said, we can add in the future. So yeah, it's, and the other question we have is what tree species you're looking at.
The meeting minutes simply noted arborvitae, and that's what understood. Yep.
Jake, quite regularly, what should we do? I think so between.
Thank you again.
Right, stuff you think here. Something else? We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Yes, I am happy to present a memorandum of understanding that will not cost the village a dime and get us a new section of road. So what we have before us is based upon a 2003 development agreement for the Shady Hollow subdivision. The terms of that development agreement, which were attached to the IFC, set forth that at such time the Shady Hollow development reaches and connects and establishes a formal access point onto Pleasant Valley Road. The developer, being Mr. Bob Tillman, shall redo a stretch of Pleasant Valley Road as identified from Maple Road to County Highway O. Those improvements will include repaving that section, changing the grades on Pleasant Valley Road at the intersections of Bayberry Lane and Winterberry Lane to improve sight distance safety, installing safety improvements at the railroad crossing on Pleasant Valley Drive, including pavement markings and signage, and installing safety improvements on County O at the intersection of Pleasant Valley Road, including deceleration and acceleration lanes. The jurisdiction of this stretch of road is actually shared between the village and the town. The town of Grafton is looking to redo this portion of road as well as other areas of Pleasant Valley Road. Therefore, what this memorandum of understanding will do is basically say that the village's share of the project is actually being covered by the private developer due to the terms of the development agreement that was entered into back in 2003. So this agreement will simply memorialize the fact that the private developer is covering the share as well as these other improvements that are outlined for the Pleasant Valley Road improvements. Staff does recommend approval of the MOU that outlines the jurisdiction, notes the village is not responsible for any costs associated with the project, and agrees that the town and village will work together to develop an improvement and maintenance plan so that future work can be coordinated. Motion to approve is requested.
Look for a motion in second to approve the memorandum of understanding between the town of Grafton and village of Grafton regarding maintenance and repairs.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Right, motion in second.
I just want to comment that this is, I'm very glad to see that the developer did this. I live in Shady Hollow subdivision, so knowing that road, I'm glad it's getting prepared for me.
All in favor, say aye.
Yes, I have a few updates and then I will be asking Chief Caponera to step forward as he has a significant update with a matter here in the village as well. Just a couple of items that I have for the village board this evening. Updated pages for the elected officials handbook have been distributed. Brand new elected officials handbook, complete copies have been distributed to our newly elected officials. That said, excellent reference document for you as board members, vetted and adopted by the village board, really helps kind of lay out general operations for you as elected officials. On May 15th and May 22nd, we have scheduled our annual liquor license renewal inspections. This is a coordinated effort involving the State Department of Revenue officials, building inspection, and fire department staff as well. This is an annual process, but it does take some coordination with the different village departments as well as the state of Wisconsin. Emergency repair work on the lime kilns is currently ahead of schedule by about a week. So I ask that everybody please keep your fingers crossed that the decent weather continues to hold so that we can finish up that emergency repair work and pull those fences out and let the park get back to normal business. So those are the three updates that I have for the village board this evening. I would ask if Chief Caponera could step forward and provide an update from the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Test, for letting me. Members, I wanted to bring this forward tonight because you probably have already heard, or you will hear. We've had some literature being circulated around the village. Well, Cedarburg, Mequon, has seen these envelopes, or I'm sorry, baggies containing birdseed with a message on it from an organization, which I'm not gonna give them the glory of spelling their name out here in front of everybody, but quite honestly, it's disturbing. While it's not considered hate, because it's a random act where they're putting these out randomly throughout the village, they're not targeting people specifically. There's not a lot that we can do about it. I wanted to be 100% transparent with you guys, because if you hear something and your constituents come to you, or you're hearing that the police department's not doing anything about it, I want to explain why we can't do anything about it. A few years ago, Kenosha and Racine experienced a similar incident. Not sure if it's the same group, but they did have a similar incident. The police did what they thought they needed to do and charged these folks with littering. It was actually challenged in court, and the judge ruled in favor of the defendant, based on the fact that the information that they were distributing, albeit that it was hate speech, is still First Amendment right, freedom of speech. So it is protected speech, and we can't really do much about that. I did look into our ordinance a little bit for our direct seller permits and solicitor ordinance. While we could effectively charge somebody with distributing information without a permit, First Amendment rights are protected under our ordinance as well, and it would likely get kicked out as well. So that being said, much to everybody's dismay, my own self included, whether I agree with it or not, the First Amendment speech is there, and unfortunately, so I just wanted to bring this forward to you and let you know, we have recovered several packages throughout the village. I don't know the exact number. I don't think it's quite the number that Cedarburg collected, but we are trying to get them picked up and rounded up as quickly as we can, so to be as less disruptive to the community. So if you hear something, I want to be 100% transparent. So you know why we can't act on what we're doing. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
All right, I'm the license. Second to
I'll second it.
Great. Questions? And on favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of bill approval of village expenditures for $1,189,836.45. And second.
I'll second.
All right, I'm the license. Second to
I'll second.
we have a motion second. I didn't see anything come through, Jesse. This time. We say aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Like we, next we'll be looking for a motion and a second and full board approval on independent voice vote. Closed session pursuant to the Texas statutes 19.851E for competitive bargaining matters, which would include public library agreement and school resource officer agreement. Once. The motion.
I'll second.
Second. Evan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, very good. Here. And about what Jesse.
I'm gonna need about 20-25 minutes to walk through everything. There is no action requested.